From trichomes.com, I'm Jason Kitamura, and this is Tech in Cannabis. I talk with game changers in the tech community to gain valuable insights into the future of the fast-paced cannabis industry. Today, we are joined by Corey Mangold, CEO of Orchid Essentials and PurTec. Cannabis vape has been a big discussion ever since Vaping Gate, and the safety and quality of vape products have been a subject of concern. Corey has taken this opportunity to put laser-like focus into making sure vape hardware in the industry is built correctly, compliantly, and won't harm consumers or tarnish the reputation of the amazing effects of cannabis. We talk about how he got Orchid Ventures started and the future of the entire cannabis vape industry. And today we have Corey Mangold with Orchid Essentials and PurTec. He's the CEO of these companies, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jason.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I guess for those of you out there that don't know about Orchid Essentials, maybe you can kind of enlighten them a little bit on that.
Yeah, Orchid Essentials started in 2017. We actually kind of started the company in 2016, but officially launched into the market in 2017 as a cannabis brand. So I had a lot of experience with cannabis cartridges, vape cartridges as a user myself, with 5 kids in the house, and wasn't able to do dabs or smoke doobies or anything. So vape was really the only thing that was discreet. And in 2016, had used hundreds of vape cartridges from different companies all over the U.S. and didn't find any that had a good user experience. At the same time, I had been vaping nicotine products, so there was a huge difference kind of between the user experience on both the nicotine platform and the cannabis platform. So I actually went down the route of engineering a proprietary piece of hardware that was specifically designed around the viscosity of the oil that we were using, and decided to launch a cannabis brand called Orchid Essentials. And we launched in August of 2017 in California and Oregon. And we ran that until about 2020, and then we really shifted the focus of our business, and we started PurTec Delivery Systems, which is an engineer and manufacturer of vaporizer cartridges, electronic cannabis delivery systems, as we like to call them. And we wanted to do something a little bit different than what was out there. So the Orchid brand we have started to license off to cannabis companies that are focused on extraction and cultivation and make great oils, and then we give them the brand and the exclusive hardware, proprietary and exclusive hardware for them to own for the entire state or region. And so we've licensed the brand out, and now we're really focused on PurTec Delivery Systems, which has a mission of consumer safety, of creating the safest vape cartridges on the market.
That's really interesting, and that's obviously a big point right now that's going on about vaping. The safety of it. The whole debate whether what was causing all the problems, with it was vitamin E or something in the machinery itself. So I know there's a big space out there that's needed for people to feel assured that their products are safe, and I know that's basically what the huge focus of your company is, correct?
Yeah. We spent the better half of 18 months out of the last 24 months conducting a advanced safety study and looking at the cannabis cartridges available on the market from different manufacturers. We all know who those manufacturers are, and we basically got products of all these different companies that manufacture or contract the manufacturing in most cases of cartridges, and we put them through a very advanced study. And during that study, we noticed quite a few things, quite a few glaring health issues. One of the biggest, because everybody in this industry uses ceramic coils, is actually ceramic particle inhalation, which leads to different cancers and tumors within the lungs, and is really not healthy to be vaporizing ceramic fibers and particles. And also the use of poor quality materials, heavy metals, everything from cadmium and manganese to nickel and lead. Lots of heavy metals used in these products. Not a lot of 316L medical grade surgical stainless steel being used. And it's really been, I think, the biggest part of it has led to this very low quality product and very low health standards because of price compression in the market.
Right.
And we've seen that from cultivation all the way to extraction, all the way to the components being used. And so if somebody's trying to keep their oil costs down and their retail good costs down, their cost of goods sold, one of the biggest areas they're going to look at is their vape cartridge. Are they spending $3 a unit? Are they spending $2 a unit? I know a lot of companies out there buying vape cartridges for 50 cents. I know what it takes to manufacture these cartridges the right way. And I can tell you the raw materials alone cost more than 50 cents to do it in a safe way. So a lot of it I think, has been because brands are being forced to keep their costs down. They're looking at the cheapest alternatives, not thinking about the long-term repercussions of that. So with PurTech, most of our audience and most of our customers and who we're talking to are larger organizations that are big public companies that are concerned about consumer safety, and they do have a responsibility to make sure their products are safe, because the FDA will be in this industry in some point in time. Once it's federally legalized, day one, the FDA is in, and the entire game changes. And then you won't be able
Right.
to use the 50-cent cartridge. You're going to have to buy one that's safe and can pass emissions testing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's kind of strange, I think, to me. I mean, like, the government obviously wants to regulate, and they claim a lot of it has to do with the safety of the people. But do you think a lot of it is like, the taxes that are imposed on cannabis and things like that? Do you think that forces the hand of some of these companies to try to cut corners in ways to even just make a profit and stay afloat? Do you think that's part of the issue?
Yes, yes. What I like to call, I always ask people if they want a tea party, because it's it's taxation without representation.
Right.
We're getting taxed, but the industry isn't benefiting from it, as you would normally see in other industries, and we have no representation. The downside is not only with the government regulations, but the way that it's set up right now. Every state has different regulations when they come to consumer safety. Every state has different COA testing that needs to be done, different leach testing, Cat 3 testing, whatever you want to call it. Every state is different, and no states are actually testing yet. Colorado is going to be the first to do it. No states are actually testing the smoke that's going into your lungs. And when you smoke flower, or you take dabs, or you smoke a vape, whatever is in that at room temperature is changing. All those compounds are hitting boiling points. Most compounds have boiling points between 200 and 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're vaping something at 450 degrees and all these compounds are hitting their boiling point, they're changing into another compound. And in often cases, something can be healthy at room temperature, but it can be fatal when it hits its boiling point and changes into another gas, for example, like we saw with Eagle 20 that was being used on crops, for white powder mildew.
Hmm.
And then you find out, oh, myclobutanol, when you smoke it, it turns to hydrogen cyanide at 390 degrees or whatever it was. So there's no
Wow.
one doing the actual testing of the smoke that's going into your body. So that tells me, first of all, the government has no idea what they're doing when it comes to uh, safety. And that's because the FDA is not involved in the conversation, and the National Institute of Health is not involved in the conversation. Once it's federally legalized, those groups will be involved, and they know how to test things for consumer safety. They're not going to take a oil cartridge, a vape cartridge, and open it up and test the oil at room temperature. That means literally nothing. They're going to test it as the smoke coming out of it, and collecting that smoke and analyzing that smoke and saying, or vapor, and saying, okay, what's in this vapor that's actually going into a consumer's lungs? So,
Hmm.
and that's something that we focus on very heavily. All of our products go through emissions testing at the AFNOR standards, which are set by the European Union. That's the strictest standards in the world when it comes to vape. And we test all of our products at those standards because it's really the only standards that are out there right now, at least as it pertains to, vape standards.
Right. Now, I mean, I'm assuming that there's no like requirement for companies to pass these standards at this time. So do you think once FDA, do you think when the FDA jumps in, say because it's legalized, that it's going to overall help the industry as a whole, or do you think, more restrictions are going to make things a little bit tougher? What do you think the grand scheme of things? What do you think is going to happen?
It's a double-edged sword. It does both of those things.
Right,
Yes, it's
right.
very, very cost intensive for companies. So
Mm,
in tobacco and in nicotine and electronic cigarettes, we now have what's called a PMTA. That's a pre-market tobacco application. That's an application to the FDA to prove that your product is safe and that you're going to market the product responsibly and not do what Juul did. You're going to monitor all your marketing activities, make sure that nothing's going out to non-smokers or people under the legal age of consumption. That process, the PMTA process, when once it's federally legalized, the FDA is going to implement the PMCA, which is a pre-market cannabis application. The average cost of that is between $2 and $5 million per SKU to do it
wow.
correctly. So a company that has 20 SKUs out there could be looking at, 50 to $100 million job to get all their products through the FDA approval.
Yeah,
Um, the good side is that they're going to be protecting consumers. The FDA is very good at that. Yes, it's a pain in the butt to deal with, but like I said, it's a you have to take the good with the bad, and the good is that when consumers are protected, we'll have an industry that will withstand the test of time. If
right,
we look 2 years from now and all of a sudden people are getting lung cancer and brain cancer and kidney cancer from different cannabis products, this industry is gone. It's dead overnight.
yeah,
So it's important to us, even before the FDA gets involved, to make sure to call out the bad actors and make sure that products are safe. We saw that with the Valley issue in 2019. We came to find out that was black market products or illicit market products. So it's important as an industry that we take consumer safety very seriously and that we do everything we can to hire the right chemists and scientists and use the right providers of products and raw materials to ensure that what we're delivering to the consumer isn't going to hurt them. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are using cannabis as a medicine, something to help them with certain areas of their life, as I do myself. And I don't want to be thinking I'm taking my medicine and poisoning myself at the same time. They're
right,
contradictory.
right. Um, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now, I want to get your opinion. Where I actually, since you're in your position, you saw it firsthand. But when all the news came out with the whole vape gate and the vape problems, and yeah, how much did that affect like your business and the business of people who are selling vape? I have a mixed reaction from people that I know that use the product. Some of them like they didn't care, they kept using it, and half of them were like, "Oh, I'm dropping it, I'm scared." Like what really happened like behind the scenes?
Yeah, Vape Gate 2019.
Yeah,
Vape Gate was real. It had a very large
yeah,
impact on companies. It cost companies millions and millions of dollars. I mean, across the industry, I would estimate in the hundreds of millions of dollars were the damages from VapeGate. Our organization, it affected. It cost us, at least, a couple $1 million.
yeah.
What happened is sales did slow down. They slowed down
Hmm.
for about 6 months, and then they started to pick back up. And they picked back up pretty quickly because the story changed from, oh, you're going to go out and buy these products at a dispensary in Smoke Valley and get popcorn lung and you're going to get sick.
Right.
That wasn't the case. What should have happened is that should have been the regulatory bodies platform and catapult to go after the illicit market and to tell people,
Yeah.
look, if there was a sign on a dispensary that was basically like their license and said, we're licensed by the state, we're licensed by the health department, there's some sort of seal of approval, if you were, like a grade from the health department for your restaurant. There's
Right.
something
Right.
on the window that said we're a legal licensed cannabis dispensary. People would know, okay, if I go there, I'm going to get safe product. But if they don't have that seal on the window, then I'm going to be smoking a valley and get sick. And the problem is, like California, for example, which was really the culprit of it. In California at that time, over 85% of the shops out there were illicit. They were
Right.
not buying products through metric. They had no COAs, of the oil and of the products being sold. So who knows what you were smoking? I mean, there
Yeah.
could be anything in it. And those companies are obviously illicit and purely focused on profit, on cash. And if they can find a way to thin out the oil to use a cheaper cartridge and to make that oil go further and have less of the actual cannabis in the cartridge, that lowers their cost. They were probably making incredible margins. But again, those actors don't think about consumers, they think about profit. They think about how quick can I make money and get out of this country. Whereas real companies that are here to pay taxes and employ people and offer benefits and build a real enterprise, um, we don't act that way. And I don't know anyone in the legal cannabis market anymore that acts that way. There used to be a lot of companies that crossed over into both illicit and legal
Hmm.
markets. We never have. We've only stayed on the legal side. But yeah, I think now it's cleaned up quite a bit. And I don't think if VapeGate happened again, I don't think it would be as big of an issue. And I don't think there's as many illicit stores around. There is still quite a bit. I know in Canada, it's still about 80% of the cannabis sales are through the illicit market. So it's still an issue that exists. And the issue isn't the vape, the issue is the certain companies making vape and selling through
Right.
non licensed, non regulated channels.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's so expensive to do everything right that,
Yes.
when a consumer sees something for half the price, they're like, oh, it's half price. But, hopefully that they're going to be educated and understand what the risks are involved with buying something like that. But I know another issue that kind of arose in the same is like counterfeits. Like there's a lot of like counterfeits vape products. I think even your company, I mean, there are some counterfeits out there. How's that affecting the whole industry? Because I know these counterfeits aren't made the same way, and there are dangers with the counterfeits. And I guess maybe if you can help the listeners kind of understand what to look out for to make sure they're not getting something that's potentially harmful when they think they're getting something clean.
Yeah, there are a lot of counterfeits out there. I would say if you see any package that has fruit and Lucky Charms on it and cereal packaging, don't use it. Um, the problem is a lot of small vape cartridge manufacturers in Shenzhen in China printed the packaging for some brands and made the hardware. And they
Hmm.
basically started selling that to anybody. And you can go on
Right.
Alibaba and buy brass knuckles, packaging and the cartridge they use and all this stuff. And then you could take it to Michigan, put your oil in it, sell it in the illicit market. People think it's brass knuckles from California when it
Hmm.
wasn't. So the counterfeit issue is a big problem, but I don't see that affecting anybody in the legal cannabis market. The companies that I've seen put out fraudulent product, counterfeit product, harmful product has always been the actors in the illicit market. So I think the biggest thing we have as an industry is to kill the illicit market. And until that's done, there will always be problems, because you have people that their motives aren't, shareholder benefit and profit. They're, worried about lining their own pockets with cash, and they don't have the investment usually to do it the right way to become a legitimate cannabis company. To be, like I tell people, to become a millionaire in cannabis, you have to start with 10
Oh, it's all too true. That's what's sad.
million.
Yeah. Well, I want to get a little bit more into your clean technology, but before we do that, I want to just talk about a little bit about yourself. I know we have a commonality where both of us kind of start. I think you're a software developer
Yes.
at the beginning, and you started an agency, and then kind of. So I guess how was the transition for you, or what was kind of the point where you wanted to move into something else? Um, I'm just curious on my own personal reasons, but I think
Yeah,
people will like to hear.
it is a
Yeah,
counterintuitive story.
yeah.
Yeah, so I am a software developer by nature. Started my first
Hmm.
software agency in 1999 in the Bay Area during the dot-com boom. Started that company at 18, was very successful, sold it at 24 years old for a very successful seven-figure exit. Retired for a few years, coached sports with my kids, did the full-time dad thing and just kind of lived the so-called retired life. Made some bad investments, lost a bunch of money, and started a new company in 2008 called Gigasavvy,
Mhm.
which grew very quickly to become a nationally recognized advertising agency. Started primarily in web development and digital marketing, and started to transition all the way into traditional advertising, doing national and international TV campaigns for large brands, doing digital advertising, everything. So grew into a very, very successful company. Top 10 places to work in Orange County for 5 years. And about 10 years into that, I started that in 2008, and it was, yeah, 8 or 9 years into it, 2016, 2017. My oldest daughter was away at college up at San Luis Obispo, and got pregnant and was going to have a baby. And so I said, why don't you come back down to Orange County and we'll start a company together so you can kind of learn what I did at a very young age, learn the entrepreneur path, learn valuable skills from finance to legal to operations to sales and marketing, and really learn everything about a business and get a very good education in that. And so we decided on cannabis. Like I said, I'd been using cannabis, wasn't happy. I said,
Right.
okay, here's an idea. Here's something we can do. Hindsight being 2020, I don't know if I would have started a cannabis company, but I did, and it's been a great ride. It's definitely had its challenges. Started off, trusting too many people, making some, just decisions in normal business you'd be okay with, but this industry was very unique getting into it.
Right.
Still has its, uniqueness. I wasn't dealing with the Fortune 500 companies out there like I had been for most of my career, knowing that checks were going to clear, and I wasn't going to have to chase people down to collect. And you
Oh,
get
you actually get checks. That's interesting.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
actually
you have
checks.
banks and loans
You're
and
right.
anything you
Yeah.
need. So
Yeah.
it was very interesting, but that led me into this industry, and it also led me to shift back from being a cannabis company and touching the cannabis plant to focusing on my background of engineering and focusing on the technology and the
Gotcha.
science side of
Mhm.
the industry. And that's where we're at now. That's the focus of our business. And we've just deployed two major advancements in technology in the vape industry. And we have a third one coming out in about a month that I think is going to be very disruptive. Um, and yeah, that's our focus now. That's kind of my story and how I got into this. And I'm here now, so I got a smile on my face, and I got a mission to make sure that people aren't getting poisoned by using an amazing product, cannabinoids. So that's my goal, is just to get clean products out there and make sure that we're providing consumers with the safest experience possible.
Absolutely. Now, so I know you guys you designed like the product for Orchid Essentials, the vape product. Sorry. But now with PureTech, it seems like are you guys actually engineering and designing the vape for other companies to use your
Yes.
technology? Is that basically what it is? Okay.
Yes.
So I guess yeah, lead me a little bit down that path. I know you use it for your brand, but how would one kind of go about if they are interested in starting like a vape company? Like, what's kind of the process that you work with them? How does that work?
Yes, that's a great question. So basically, the benefit of us coming from cannabis and actually being an LP or a processor or manufacturer is we have hands-on experience of filling vape cartridges with thick distillate, live resin, cannabis oils. We know formulation, how to introduce or reintroduce cannabis-derived terpenes, botanical terpenes. We understand the entire fill and pack out process. We understand the testing. We understand all the regulatory issues. We know metric. And so when we work with a new client that's, for example, starting a vape company, we have a lot of experience to share with them. So we have a concierge department in our company in PureTech. It's PureTech Concierge Services. And in that, we also have an integration team. And what we do is we go out to the client's manufacturing facility. We help to teach them how to fill and cap properly and have clean room standards, how to set up their production line to fill a cartridge at one end and have a retail ready, labeled, sealed, childproof product at the end of the line that's ready to go into isolation for testing. And so it's not we're not a company in China sending you an email saying, "Hey, I'm gonna sell you this cartridge for $1. It's cheaper than what you got, and it's got some new
All right.
technology that isn't validated." We go and we work with them hands on. We help them navigate the entire process because we've done it from start to finish. We know it, and we know what not to do. Most importantly, as in business, you have
Yeah.
failures and you make mistakes and you learn to adapt. So our model is not we're not a supplier of a good. We're a partner
Hmm.
to our clients. We help engineer and develop new products, new best practices, things to keep them on the forefront and keep them relevant, and always be innovating hardware and giving them the new and the best technology that we've created. And our manufacturer that we're exclusive with, and we have an exclusive partnership with them, and it's friends of mine. That our manufacturer invented the electronic cigarette. They've been making
Wow.
electronic cigarettes longer than anybody out there. They're the second largest player in the world. We used to be number one. We'll get back there very soon. We're barely smaller than the next one, but most of the other guys are much, much, much smaller in scale. So our
Got it.
factory can produce 100 million cartridges a month without any issue. And we supply cartridges to the biggest tobacco companies in the world. So on the cannabis side, we know a lot of things that relate to cannabis, but we also have the scale and volume of, a nicotine or tobacco scale behind us.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, so I know, the obviously for the consumer, they want to make sure they don't get sick and die. So that's the biggest part, being clean, making sure that the mechanics don't fail or, give off some sort of harmful, gas or something like that. But the other part of it is, people that are underage using the product.
Yes.
So I did see something about you guys. You have some sort of product that says it may actually stop like underage use. I was just more curious to figure out what that was. I-
Yeah, so we haven't launched that product yet. We are going to be launching it very soon. I can't share a lot about it and not going to
Okay,
publicly.
got it.
It's
Okay,
already developed, it's already tested, it's already done. It's actually going through FDA approval right now for an entire different application within the tobacco industry. But it is something we will be deploying here in the next probably 60 to 90 days.
nice.
I'm looking down at one and it's sitting on my desk right in front of me right now.
Okay.
But yes, we do have, we are developing technology. Like I said, our focus is consumer safety
Yeah.
in keeping this industry legitimate. And we cannot have minors consuming cannabis products and cannabis vape out of the legal market like they have with tobacco. We saw what happened with Juul. It'll be a massive stain on
Hmm.
our industry. It already is. And so we need to do more as an industry to protect underage people from using these products. Cannabis is not good for a developing mind. There have been proven effects in regards to brain development under the age of 25. I am not an advocate of people under the age of at least 21 using the product. Of course, we all did in high school, and that's not going to stop, but we definitely don't want to be making it easier or making it more readily available. And so we're developing technologies. My background being in software, there's a lot I have in my mind of how to do things, and we've developed some technologies that I think are pretty innovative that should have a pretty massive impact on that.
That's awesome. I wish I could see what you got down there, but another thing I heard you're speaking pretty soon at a conference about safety. If
Yes.
you want to give a little shout out to that, let our listeners know.
Yeah, I'll be speaking this Thursday at the Emerge Summer Conference, which is a big conference in cannabis, and I'll be speaking at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's tickets online. I don't have the link in front of me, but look up Emerge Summer Conference and get tickets, and it's virtual, so you can do it all from the comfort of your home or office. and I'll be speaking on safety and federal legislation. So, and how basically the learnings that we have from the tobacco industry and the pre-market tobacco applications and the FDA involvement and kind of that whole evolution and how that's going to apply to cannabis, as well as a big segment on our safety study and what we've learned over the last 2 years and what we've done to improve products to make them uh, provably safer.
That's great. Yeah, Corey, I want to thank you for your time. Before we go, I guess just let us know what do you think is the best case scenario? What do you think is like in a perfect world for everything to happen, with legalization and with FDA? What is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel if everything went perfectly?
If everything went perfectly,
Which,
which
yeah,
I think it will, I really do. I think the FDA, I think federal legalization or descheduling is going to occur within the next 24 months. I do believe that, especially with Kamala Harris and her background in San Francisco, and I'm very familiar with her background, and I think that it will happen. And if it does, then the FDA is going to get involved. Unfortunately, I think it will wipe out about 80% of the companies out there that are small and that
oh,
don't have enough capital resources. But in a perfect scenario, the bankers and the investors and the capital markets up in Canada will come in and fund those companies, because once you have your FDA approval, you are golden. You're golden, and you've made it past this barrier. You've become a Navy SEAL when no one else can, and you've made it past
right,
this very big hurdle. And once you're there, you have an open market to pretty much the entire world, because the FDA approval is, it's about as strict as it gets. And so I think it'll be a very good thing at the end. I just hope that companies can get the financing necessary to get through the FDA process. But then at that time, most importantly, the consumers are going to know that what they're putting in their bodies is not going to kill them. And that, I think, is the most important thing that will catapult this industry into not being a taboo and not being something that we thought of in the past.
right. So essentially, what you're saying is most companies, if they want to make it, they should probably partner with you guys and make sure that their vapes are clean.
Yeah, yes, but
Yeah.
also they have to do their own PMCAs. So it would be,
Yeah.
yes, use a good hardware provider. Not a lot out there that are clean.
Yeah.
So pick wisely, and most importantly, start filling up that savings account and stockpiling cash, because it will get expensive, but it will be worth it to those that succeed. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time and your insights. It was great. And, best of luck educating the world on how to stay safe with vape.
Thank you, Jason, for
Thanks for
having
coming
me.
on.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks. Once again, I want to thank Corey Mangold with Orchid Ventures for coming on to the show. And for all your cannabis news and for other podcasts like this one, come visit us at www.trichomes.com. If you want to reach out to the show, email us at techandcannabis@podcast.com. I'm Jason Kitamura. Thanks for joining us.